Do you ever get those photos where you've not got a grad filter, or you've got a lens like the 17mm tilt shift lens from Canon, which you can't put grad filters on, and you end up with this situation where you've got a really bright sky and a dark foreground? So the first thing to do then is to balance the sky and the land. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go below the sky there and drag a grad on, just so the entire sky is covered by it. And now I'm gonna take the exposure down. So if we put a 2-stop grad filter on, it would have looked something like that if you drag that down to -2. Okay, now you notice it's covered the tops of these hills in, and we don't really want that. So the new range mask feature in Lightroom's local editing tools is brilliant for this. So click on luminance, and now if we get the left hand one, the dark side, and drag that up, what you'll start to see is that the hill now isn't affected. So if we click on show overlay mask, it's very light red there, so it's just a very light effect. Okay, so we've taken that down to -2-ish, -1.9, so we can start to make the sky look a bit more impressive. So depending on how far you want to go with this, clarity and dehaze are usually quite interesting. Maybe bring the shadows down a bit. And if you wanted to, you can make it a lovely warm sky by putting the temperature up, or a really cold sky by taking it down. It's just whatever creative decision you want to make. So I might warm it up a little bit and just add a bit more saturation. Okay, so the sky, shall I just take the highlights down a bit to see what happens to this bright area here? So if we take the highlights down, what happens if you go too far is you get this really fake looking grey patch happening. So I reckon you're probably better off just leaving a bit of flare and burn there, because it's the sun. The sun is naturally quite bright. Right, so that's done. What we can now do is pretty standard landscapey stuff. Maybe add 30 or 40 on the clarity. We can maybe brighten it up a little bit. Maybe, yep. So if we go to +1, there we go on the exposure. You see, it all still looks balanced because we've darkened the sky down. If we did that without putting the grad on, the whole thing would have looked really, really, well, just whited out in the sky. So I'm adding a bit of contrast. I want to bring some shadow detail out down the bottom here. Not too much, you don't need to look like a crazy fake HDR. If you are a little bit worried about it looking a bit washed out, you can always add a bit of black clip in. Tip is to press the Alt key down when you do this, and it comes up with this white screen. And those black bits there are pure black. The rest of it, there's nothing pure black in it. Okay. Maybe tweak the highlights a little bit. Then you can just add a bit of sharpening to it. I'm pretty confident there's no noise. It was shot at ISO 400, so it should be fine. But one thing for this kind of shot is to go down to your camera calibration and maybe pop it onto landscape, which gives it a bit more colour, and the other one is a nice big net. So what I tend to do is do a fairly small midpoint of around 20, 100 feather, and then the amount I just slide to and fro to taste. So if you want a nice subtle one, maybe 19, 20. If you want to go a bit crazy, you can go further down, maybe -45. So let's go about 20, -20 here, like that. So in very little time we've added this grad and just a few sort of tweaks to whatever your flavour of editing is, and Bob's your uncle. So if we go down to the bottom here, click on create virtual copy just to show you what the original looked like. And so if we reset all the settings, Control Shift and R is your shortcut for that. So that's the original shot, and that's just a few quick tweaks in Lightroom. You can obviously open this up in Photoshop now and start sharpening each individual rock and creating your own sort of dodge and burn palettes. But that's how to get to a cracking start point. Thanks for watching.